How are you, brother?
Doing well. Got some code changes pushed today. I had 30 commits get merged today that I've been working on for like a week. So
30
feel
commits.
big, yeah, big
I don't know what
change.
that means, but I'm going to bookmark it and we'll dive into it. Um,
Yeah,
so,
there's a lot.
yeah, right now we kind of threw out the bat signal just to let everybody know that we're going to have a chat with one of the developers
It was
who
cool.
has
Yeah.
put, his blood, sweat, passion, and tears into this Lost City server that we're all so lucky to have. And specifically that you've worked on the engine. And I don't know exactly what that means. I'm sure a lot of people don't either. So we'll get to have a fun conversation about kind of like what your contributions have been, and also maybe teach some other people a bit, kind of like you did with me, how to look through the source code themselves. But before we get into that, man, I'd really just like to get to know you. And I'm just gonna do one quick thing before we really dive in. I want to make sure that the audio is working well. Last time that was an issue. So, chat, if you guys could just confirm that you guys can hear me well, you can hear Bay well, and that our
Hello.
audio is checked out. No one said anything. Like last time, people were like, "We can't hear anything." Right now, we're getting questions, um, and because we're getting questions, I'm just gonna mention it now. At the end, if there's time, we'll do a Q&A. But just to keep the conversation fluid, I'm going to wait till the end to do Q&A. Let's let her rip, man. I mean, first things first, like, I just kind of want to start simple and, like, know you as a gamer, right? Because, like, we're all gamers. Uh, Tell us, like, when did you start playing this game and how did you develop a love for it?
You just mean all versions of RuneScape, right?
Yeah, exactly. Like, what was your first experience with it? And then, like, how would you describe your RuneScape journey that's led to this point?
Yeah, played forever since I was like 9 back in 2006. I got my first laptop, personal laptop in 2011. And I was happy because I got to play more RuneScape. I just always really liked it. And the community, there's a huge, it's a real social game. As I transitioned into university, um, I graduated high school. Uh, OSRS had just come out. I think it came out toward the end of my junior year of high school, and then it was out for my senior year of high school.
Right.
Started playing it again my first year of university, kind of picked it back up. And at the same time, I was developing a career path. And so this was probably back a decade ago, maybe 11 years ago. I'm a 17-year-old kid out of high school thinking about what I want to do. Um, I started major electrical engineering, but I took some computer science courses and everything clicked really easy. And I think everything clicked really easy because I'd already kind of been like, I'd been in the bug abuse community as like a 15-year-old, like learning about like obviously like integer limits, learning about how queues work and like how linked lists roughly work and stuff like that. So there, I don't know if you remember like back kind of in that EOC era, like bug abuse was like kind of cool. Like, we were all kind of kids, and you know what I mean, like the Eric OG Joa videos and stuff like that. That people would like break the game. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No, no. Actually, I mean, give like one example because I don't.
Oh yeah, so I don't know. They came out with those microtransaction pets. Okay, so I'll give one example for myself. They came out with EOC when I was 15. So OSRS had been maybe not come out yet, or maybe it was like around the time it released, like maybe the month of release. They also came out with Warband in EOC. I had found kind of independently, I played a level 3 at the time, that you could cast Fire Surge in the wilderness as a level 3. Like I found like a way to set it up where you can essentially cast a level 95 magic spell on other level 3s in the wilderness and just like down them.
No
And
way.
yeah, and so I was kind of looking for ways to kind of like outthink the game even as like a kid. Like I really liked that. I liked to like, you know, find a little way to break the game. And my friend, a guy who was a bit older than me, who kind of taught me a lot, his name's Patham. He taught me how floods work. And this probably won't make a lot of sense, but if you take damage in the game, it goes through something called your queue, and we have this in '04 Scape. Around that time, if you had too much in your queue, it would just delete the rest of it, so you could like delete commands. So this was me as like a kid learning this stuff. Once I started like university, I felt like I had a natural understanding of like some of this stuff
Sure.
because of RuneScape, and so it kind of almost directed my career path.
Wow.
I ended up getting I switched majors after a year or two. I ended up majoring in computer science. I finished a bachelor's degree in computer science, and I did really well. And now I'm working as a software engineer. And so now I have a good, I have a good formal background in software. I've been a professional software dev for a bunch of years now.
That's amazing, man.
And it all kind of comes back to RuneScape. And I feel like since I've been doing this since a kid, I have a really good understanding of how like the engine should work just from a software perspective. Like I've been thinking about this for like 11 years. And so the opportunity to kind of like implement how I think the engine should be organized is really fun. So that's why I'm here.
Nice, dude. That's so awesome. I appreciate that. And just real quick, there's some other people strolling in. We're at 24 viewers right now. So those who are just joining, this is JoshBrownGames. I'm live right now with Bea, who has put some work into the Lost City engine. So now that's a great kind of understanding of like how you loved RuneScape and how you got into coding. When did you first hear about Lost City as a project, and how did you meet Pizzazz, and how did you understand that this was, first of all, something that existed, and second of all, when did you decide you wanted to participate?
Yeah, let me if I go look, so I joined the Lost City Discord on October 6th, 2023. So it's been that's about a year and a half ago.
Wow.
I've been in the Discord, and so I run like a clan or a group of like we've been exploring game mechanics for like about 5 or 6 years now.
Okay.
Like we have a clan. I don't know if you know like Port Khazard. Are you familiar with that name in OSRS?
The area, Port Khazard?
Yeah, so it is an area. He got first to Coliseum completion. I don't know. Do you follow OSRS or just this one?
So like I follow content creators like Jimmy Thing is one of my favorites, Mr. Mammal, obviously like, the Locked In Sewers. So like all the big ones I know. I think you might be getting more niche than I've had exposure to. So feel free to like, update me and maybe some of the viewers about, some of these niche content creators.
Port Khazard, he was nominated for Gamer of the Year Golden Gnome this year. He lost to Settled, and everyone thinks that's a huge upset, but Settled has such like a YouTube following. Of course people are voting, like who Settled is. Everyone knows who Settled is.
Of course.
You don't know who Port Khazard is.
Exactly.
But he's people compare him to the modern day, and I don't want to sound corny, but people are saying like he's like a Wooks type, right? Like this guy's good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But so Coliseum came out about a year ago. He beat Wooks to first completion, and that was a big deal. But anyway, so Port and I run a clan called the Summit since 2019, and we've essentially just been documenting game mechanics since back then. And so I'm not taking the credit for this, but a lot of people in the clan have contributed to the Lost City project.
Yeah.
And I think a big reason the Lost City project feels so accurate is because of the people who are in this clan. And obviously there's people, Pizzazz and all those, they're doing, it's not, maybe like half the devs have been in and out of this conversation. And so I've know, like if we scroll through the devs list, like I've known a bunch of these guys for a long time because, Polar, the reason we have RuneScript in the first place, the RuneScript compiler that's written by a guy named Polar, who I've known a bunch of years now. See, I'm just kind of in that community already. You know what I mean? Like these are the people that I talk to on the internet a lot. So
nice, man.
That's how I'm familiar with it. Like I'm, big fan of everyone working on the game, and I know them all on a pretty personal level.
So I mean, let me just say, so far this has been awesome. We're going exactly the right direction with like this conversation and learning about the team. My goal is to kind of
Yeah.
like start big and then sort of like narrow in and get more granular here. Let's start talking a little bit about like some of the coding team and what it's like. Somebody asked, and I think it's a good question, how many devs are working on the project? But I'm going to expand the question a bit, which is like, I want to ask, how do I ask this? There's lots of different types of work. I think of them almost as like departments. Like you're working
100%.
on the engine. There's other people that are working on the code. There's bug testers. So like, if you could tell us, yes, how many devs are working total, but like, if you were to break up the different things that are being done into categories, what are those categories, and then how many work on each of those categories?
I think I'm going to give you 3 categories, and so we have essentially 2 separate code bases working in tandem. We have you've probably heard the term, like Jagex throws around, engine work versus content work. And content work is all done in RuneScript. That's Jagex's proprietary language. We built, and by we I mean a guy named Polar, built our own compiler for RuneScript. And then our engine is built in TypeScript. And so as far as like actual work that goes into the game, that, stuff that will affect what's happening when you're logged in, it's very clearly split up into 2 different things, engine and content.
I see.
And then there's kind of this third, like there's kind of a miscellaneous bucket of development where I know like Kat is working on our like message center. Like if we hand out bans, we would be able to tell people why they're banned on the website. There's also like kind of like tracking players, like being able to cheat, like anti-cheat, and then there's also just some like quality of life. Like some people build like tools that aren't the game itself, but like kind of aid us in development. Like we write RuneScript in a text editor called VS Code. And RuneScript's a language that we wrote the compiler for, but VS Code knows how to like kind of make sense of it, and that's because someone had to write that like VS Code plugin, kind of thing. So there's all these like little tasks like that are kind of floating around, but then the main development split into server and content.
Server and content, okay, and then I kind of want to ask about like how the work gets organized, but I feel like that's maybe too much of a rabbit hole. So,
the short answer is it doesn't. The people who contribute are people who kind of know what to do.
Okay.
And so like we end up self-organizing. You find a problem you think you can solve, and then you solve it. And then that's how work gets done at the moment. Once we launch pay to play, we will be more organized about it. But at the moment, that's kind of how it's working.
The current method's obviously working. I'm just gonna ask one follow-up question on that, and then we'll kind of move on, which is, given that everybody is, self-motivated and self-selecting their workload, how do you guys handle quality control? Because, one person can work on something and submit it. So like, how do you handle quality control?
Yeah. So every change goes through a pull request, and if you're familiar with code, maybe the person who's asking that is, we have our main server branch. In order to make a change to the server branch, you have to code it up, and then you essentially submit a list of changes that you're making. And then before it gets accepted, anybody can review it. It usually goes through, people will look it over, say this looks good. A lot of the stuff doesn't need that much review. Like if you're coding like a door opening and closing,
okay,
you can click in the door and it opens and closes, and then there's not going to be side effects from that. Like that's not going to change something. You can glance at it and tell that it doesn't change something. Engine code, which is what I primarily work on, is a lot more touchy. If I push a piece of engine code to NPCs, that affects every NPC in the game, and we have to make sure that it's valid for every NPC in the game. And so that gets a little bit more review time, except there are very few people who actually have like the know-how to review. Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
And so it's been kind of, me, a guy named Jordan, Tanner and Pizzazz as far as the engine stuff goes. At least since I've been here, that seems to be who's working on engine stuff, and then we'll all kind of discuss it and make sure that it's a valid change when we're making it. And so communication's key, obviously, because we're a small team. We're not going to have QA. We don't have a QA team or anything like that. We do submit to a testing server, and then things get tested for a week about before they go live. And then we're in beta, and so we're, you guys are the testers. Also, so.
we are the quality control. Is that what I'm hearing?
The JAGX method. You just push it out. Long story short, yeah. It's kind of the truth. We can't afford all these. We just don't have a big enough team to justify, extensive testing processes. We don't even have a real test engine like we should. We'll get that eventually.
Wow.
Like automated testing. That's not something we have, but it will come. It will come eventually.
I mean, just hearing how bootstrapped all of this is, honestly, is just more of a testament to how well you guys have done. I mean, what you've created with zero budget and no resources. I mean, you've created what is a AAA game today on your own. I mean, obviously you have.
Yeah, and I don't want to take the credit. Make sure you're not giving me the credit for that. There's a lot of people who worked a lot harder than me on this.
Fair enough, man. Fair enough. I appreciate, that's a great show of character. Well, good on you for that.
No, I respect them just as much as you do. So I'm happy that they've done what they've done so that I can do the stuff that I do on the server. I'm having a lot of fun.
Batman.
Yeah. So, didn't mean to interrupt.
Not at all. No, and that's actually the kind of perfect segue into what I wanted to understand. We don't have everybody here. We have you, and you work on the engine. So, I mean, if you could tell me, like I'm in third grade, like what does it mean to work on the game's engine? And after you answer that, maybe go into a little bit of like what you do. And take that however you want, so like after we understand what engine work is, if you want to tell us what you've worked on in the past or what you are working on now, or maybe one or two things that you're proud of, however you want to like tell us what your experience working on the engine has been is perfect.
So to start off, everyone's familiar with the client. The client runs in your browser, and the client is we decompiled Jagex's original 2004 client. We have a copy of it that was found. Decompile it. We translate it in a way that runs in the browser, and it's essentially one-to-one authentic.
Okay.
And so anything that happens to the client, we don't need to touch. Jagex has already written that, and we have the code for it. We can just copy it.
Okay.
However, step number one of the engine is that the client needs to communicate over the network with the engine. So the client needs to be able to pass packets to the engine, and the engine passes packets back to the client. Does that make sense? And so we have a server running out there somewhere, in India, and then that server has to be able to send information to the client. Client has to send it back. That's kind of like a very foundational piece of the engine. However, that's a piece that private server devs have done for like a decade, because we know exactly the information the client needs to receive. And so we can kind of just like build a server that's sending that stuff out. And so I'm not going to say it's trivial. It's very difficult, but it's something that people have been solving for forever. And so Pizzazz and Jordan, I think, as far as I understand, are pretty much almost like solely responsible for handling all that. They've been in the private server community for over a decade. They understand the ins and outs of networking. And, so I don't need to worry about that at all, which is nice, because that is a really difficult part, and you should probably have a lot of private server experience to tackle it.
Sure.
What I mostly handle is server-side behavioral stuff. And so I gave the example earlier, if I make a change to NPCs, that affects every NPC in the game. And so I'm primarily concerned with making sure that NPCs are implemented at a general level as close as possible as we can to Jagex. And also not just NPCs, that players behave the same way, locations like objects in the game world behave the same way, items behave the same way. I'm concerned with engine behavior. So one thing I pushed recently Um, and so that I said, I was learning about RuneScape's queue system 15 years ago or something like that. And so I think I'm like kind of intimately familiar with how the engine should behave as far as like how things should get scheduled on the back end, and how should if you run away from NPC, what code should it run? Like it's gonna stop attacking you if you run too far away from it. But what should it really do in that situation? Like, you know what I mean?
Sure.
Like should it reset its path? Should it go find something else to do? One thing really critically that I rewrote recently, but I also kind of developed a spec for, and so private servers have been using kind of like I'm going to call it like a model. Me and a guy named Henke worked it all out, is how if you interact with something in the game world, like if you attack an NPC or if you like use an axe on a tree, you're going to do something along the lines of pathing toward it for a little bit, and then once you get into range of it, you're going to run a script on it. That's called an interaction. You're going to interact with it. Okay. That stuff is actually surprisingly complicated and pretty difficult to figure out. And we wrote kind of like a spec on how it should work, like in pseudocode about 4 years ago, me and a guy named Henke. And it was kind of implemented to the spec we wrote, but not fully. And so I rewrote it, and now there's just like all the edge cases are just handled really, really well. If you're like going and interacting with stuff in the game world, you're not going to find an inconsistency that has like at an engine level with like, you click an NPC, you're going to path for a little bit. You know what I mean? Eventually you might have to recalc a path if the NPC moved, and then you have to get up close to it. So like all that is... go on.
I'm trying to wrap my head around this, and I'm thinking this might be a good way to ask a question that could help me understand it. I like to do something called Scape and Sweat, where I get into some sort of AFK train method, and I just get a full workout in on stream. It's a lot of fun. It's cool. Healthy. So what I was doing for my AFK methods was two different things. One, I tried doing the Black Knights, where you do the Black Knights Fortress quest. There's a corner where you can stand and they all kind of line up and start attacking you. And then the second thing I tried is the hobgoblins. So what I noticed after doing this AFK training is that different monsters seem to have some sort of de-aggro, where if they're unable to attack you because you're currently being attacked and you're not in multi-combat, they then begin to ignore you. So that behavior I've noticed is consistent. The same thing happened at Hobgoblins is what happened at the Black Knights, where if I'm already under attack and there's another would-be aggressive monster, because he attempts to attack me and cannot, he loses aggression and then basically ignores me. So exactly. Is that the kind of engine stuff that you work on?
Yeah, that is 100% engine behavior, something that applies to every NPC, no matter where you are in the game. And I've changed a wide variety of it. Like hunting is the act of like an NPC aggroing to you. I'm not gonna say like I completely rewrote it, but I did like refactor significantly, like the order of actions that happen when an NPC hunts you. There was one issue. Yeah, go on.
I said sweet. That's awesome.
Oh, sweet. I thought you said wait. Okay. Yeah. There was another one. I know Remy said she even noticed this, that like suppose you're mining and the rock's gonna respawn next tick, and then you click the rock. So you click the rock the tick before it respawns. Like a month or two ago, it would completely stop pathing you toward the rock that tick. Now you path that tick and that's how it should be. That is all that little interaction stuff. That is engine behavior. Like the engine is scheduling all your like pathing and stuff.
Okay.
So I fixed that one. That was a good one to get.
I'm not laughing at you. Someone in chat just said something funny. They said Java just said imps are sentient, and we're talking about NPC behavior. Imps probably have the most funny and erratic and troll NPC behavior in the game. So
they do. Yeah.
Is there anything you can tell us about why imps work the way they do? And I mean, I don't know if there's a nugget here. Let us know. If not, we can move on.
Yep. They have something called what's the param? Um, I think it's keep chasing. Is that it? Shoot. Give me 5 seconds. Let me look in the
Go for it, man.
code.
Go for it.
Yeah, they have a param called give chase equals false. And so if you walk away from an imp, it won't follow you. And it also has a timer that teleports it around. But I think the give chase equals false is what makes it seem so weird. You know, if you're attacking an imp at any point and it has to move to you to get to you, it will just give up. But it will move first and then give up. So if you like attack it from a distance, it will set its destination to you, start to move to you, and then it will realize it moved and then forget about you. But then it will keep walking toward where you were. And so it is really funny behavior. I did fix that at an engine level recently.
Interesting. Look at that.
Yep. It would. I think when I got here, I think it would move 2 tiles in a tick because of the way things were. They weren't organized well, so it would actually move and then move again, which it shouldn't do that. It should never move twice in a tick, but it was, and then, that was part of the refactor that.
Nice, dude.
That came up.
So, I mean, we're about to do a slight pivot into more of the like kind of deep dive granular code stuff. Before we go that direction, I just want to say 2 things. First of all, I don't know if you're watching the stream or if you can see this. So just wanted to let you know that, we have 30 people watching. And I mean,
that's cool.
I just want to express, like, from me and just, kind of speaking for the community, we really appreciate you coming on and sharing this with us. It's such an awesome server. It's such a great project. You giving us this peek behind the curtains, if you will, it's a lot of fun. So thanks for being on.
Yeah, of course, man. I love it just as much as you do. So
nice, man. It's fun to share passions. The other thing I want to do is give people an opportunity as we pivot more in the code to try and follow along as best as they can. So why don't I stream my screen here?
Yeah.
I'm thinking of how to do this. So I'm going to do 2 things. I'm streaming my right monitor to you. I'm also going to change the OBS scene. So that way you'll be able to see me and chat is going to be able to see the same thing that you see. All right. Let's do 3 things. 1, let's recommend for those who want to look through the code themselves a script editor. I think you're going to recommend Visual Studio, but if you want to recommend something else, go ahead. Let's show them how, if they don't want to use Visual Studio, how they can view the code on a browser just by looking at it, with GitHub. And 3, let's show them how to download the code from GitHub and then import it into Visual Studio if they choose to go that route. Does that all make sense? Does that sound good?
Yeah, sounds good.
Cool. So I am streaming my right monitor here. First thing I'm going to do is Visual Studio. So Visual Studio, guys, and do you agree that Visual Studio is a good...
100%. Yep.
Okay. So all you guys have to do, go to Google Visual Studio. Come here. This is a code editor. You can hit download for Windows, and it already just started downloading. I'm going to cancel this because I have it already. Once you download Visual Studio, you're going to get a application that looks like this. I've got mine in dark mode, and you can basically import code into Visual Studio. Again, let me just throw this out there. I am not a coder, but this is what I know. I know enough just to get code into an editor to look at it. So that's number 1. Number 2, I'm going to go to the 2004 wiki here. And I'm just going to say I'm treating this, Bea, like I am the novice here. And you're kind of looking over my shoulder and making sure that nothing I say is wrong. So
we really have 700 people online right now?
We don't have 700 people online as far as I know. No, we've got 34.
Oh, really? Oh, no, in Lost City.
Oh,
that's a lot.
700
we usually don't
at 11
on a weeknight. We usually don't pull that. Cool.
Good shout out. I didn't even pay attention to the number. Yeah, that is
Mudkip had to have gained us a quarter, like 25% of our users. That's crazy.
You're not wrong, man. There was like a couple hundred players spiking on concurrent values just from Mudkip joining. It was wild.
Yeah, that's sick. Yeah, thanks, Mudkip.
I mean, while we're here, let's just say it was a great video. I watched the whole thing. Okay, so here we are. We're on the 2004 Velocity page. You come here to source code, and this is going to link you directly to the GitHub page. Right here in the top right, there's a green code button. And you can hit this green code button and hit download zip. When you download zip, you're going to get a zipped folder. It's going to be server-main.zip. You can unzip that folder into somewhere on your local drive. And then this is where I'm going to have you, Bea, direct me. I have the folder extracted, but I've not yet imported it into Visual Studio, and I actually don't know how.
I see. Yeah. So if you click on File, there's an option Open Folder, and this will open the entirety of the folder. It'll kind of pin it to the left. So yeah, if you go ahead and find it, and then yeah, don't click into it. Or yeah. So I guess server. Is that correct? And then yep, if you just click Select Folder in the bottom left, this will open the entire folder. You can see all the folder's file contents on the left. And you get a nice little UI for looking through it.
Just because I'm teaching this like nobody knows anything and we're all in third grade, a pop-up came here. Do we need to treat this pop-up? What should we do with this pop-up?
Yeah, so sometimes people can give you malicious code. You know exactly what you're downloading here. You can just click trust the authors, and you should probably check the checkbox, trust the authors of all files.
Yes, I trust the authors. Okay, cool. So now we're in, and here on the left, we have what looks to be like different folders showing all the different types of code.
Yeah, I'm actually going to send you one thing if you don't have it downloaded yet.
Okay.
We have so RuneScript is a proprietary language. Only us and Jagex are the two people who write RuneScript in the whole world. And so it doesn't look very pretty when you're reading through it. You've probably noticed it's all white. We have written, by we I mean I think KYL built it. It'll just give you some like format highlighting when you're viewing RuneScript, so it'll make it a lot easier to read the code if you download this extension.
I never would have known. Okay, so
yeah,
I'm going to post this link in the Discord chat so people can follow along. This is the link that Bea has just linked to me, guys. So if you guys want to, anyone who is following along, this is the link that he's about to show me how to integrate. So I've just clicked this link.
Yep, I think if you click install, it'll actually open back up in VS Code. It'll take you. Yeah, it'll try to open VS Code.
Okay.
And now you're taken to the VS Code page. And now if you click install, it will just install directly.
Right here in the bottom right, it'll install directly. So it's an extension, just like in a browser.
Oh, excuse me, that might have been something else. I think VS Code is recommending to you.
Oh.
Files or
the dev configuration file. Reopen folder to develop in a container.
So that should be fine. That's a Microsoft plugin. They make Visual Studio.
Sure.
You're not messing up downloading that. But honestly, I think that's for our like Docker database most likely.
Gotcha. So this is another plugin called Dev Containers that got recommended to me.
But I want to suspect you need it. I don't.
Okay.
But you have tabs on the top. Yeah. So if you close that tab, so if you see on the top left, you have an install button.
This is the right button. Okay.
Yeah.
So don't want to lead anyone on stream astray here. If you guys are following along, if you get recommended by Microsoft to install this extension, Dev Containers, it's not necessary. So right here is the RuneScript language support, and we're going to hit install here, and it looks like it's already installed.
Yeah, you should be good. So now if we look, and maybe we're getting ahead of ourselves, but just to make sure it works, if you just look at any code that has some RuneScript in it, if you recall, it's in the data, source data scripts folder. Oh yeah, so
Um,
you have like tabs on the left also.
yes.
You have your Explorer will show you all the files, and then the magnifying glass is how you search through. So if you click the top one, it'll take you back to the code.
Got it. Okay, so this is just like Windows Explorer. Hitting the Explorer here is the same as looking through the master code or the master file list.
Yeah. And so for the most part, I think everybody who's only reading the code to find out what's going on, if they're looking for drop tables, etc., they're looking for the rune scripts, which exist under the data folder. So
Data.
unless you're really concerned with the engine, you're probably looking in data/source/scripts.
Data, source, and then scripts. Here we are.
Yep. And so if you want to see like if you want to try your best to reason about how fire making works, you have a skill_fire making folder, and this will contain all the code specific to fire making. And so it's no engine code. It's just things that are only relevant to fire making will exist inside that folder.
So under
And then
fire making, I've got configs and scripts.
Yeah, always scripts.
Scripts.
Most likely. Scripts gives you the code. Configs gives you like some parameters for some stuff.
Okay.
Not as important.
So firemaking.rs2 sounds very high level generic.
Yeah, let's check it out. And see, now you have all this nice readable code because of the extension that we just installed.
Beautiful. Okay, so let's pause here. Those who do not have Visual Studio, let's show them back on the GitHub page. If they don't want to go through Visual Studio, but they want to be able to just look through the code, how can they, in their browser, just look at the code without any of this extra work?
Yeah, so full disclosure, it's probably going to be a worse experience, of course, but it's still workable. So if you just want to look through scripts, they're in that data folder. And then you have a very similar thing on the left, right?
Yes.
It kind of mirrors so we can go ahead and open up source and then data source scripts.
Source. Where's data source? Am I just going
You're in
here?
You're in source. Yeah, you're already there.
Okay, and then we were going down to fire making.
Yep.
Scripts.
And
fire making RS2. And here we go.
Yeah.
This is
and you have no formatting. Yeah.
Yeah, no formatting, but this is where we can view the code just in our browser, just like this. Cool.
And you also have that search button in the top. I think that'll search for a file name, but there's a whole nother magnifying glass top right. Yeah. I think this should be able to search fire. Like if you type in fire making here, does this give you anything?
Yes.
Yeah, so this gives you, this gives you some stuff, right? So you can effectively search through it. It's workable.
I'm just seeing if we can get random jewel.
Yeah, let's check it out.
Those who don't know, random jewel is the server code for the random gem drop table. So I just wanted to see if that.
And then it's giving you 3 options. I think you want to click the top one. We'll say search in this repository, and now you get to see it. Perfect.
So this is everywhere where random jewel appears in the source code. Okay, got it.
Yeah, perfect.
Cool.
Again, right. It's a little more obtuse than VS Code, of course.
Sure.
But so, it's workable.
People have both options now. They can download.
You don't have to download anything. Yeah.
Download if they want to. Not download if that's not their cup of tea.
If I'm at work, I'm at my work computer, I don't have my local environment set up, I want to check something out, I'm thinking about the code at work because I shouldn't be, I'll go to the GitHub and I'll search through it.
Nice.
Completely workable. So
okay, so now that we've gotten this far, the next thing to do, I think, would be to go through some use cases of how users that wanted to learn things about the game themselves, and they wanted the answer from the horse's mouth, from the source code, meaning they're not looking at a wiki, they're not looking at some website that's going through drop tables. They want to know for themselves how to answer a question. We should try and kind of walk through some example questions of showing them how to look through this code and get the answers they're looking for. The example that you and I used last time was we were looking to understand what monster in the game, when members drops, is going to be the best monster to kill and get a nature talisman drop. It was a really fun exercise. I don't necessarily want to repeat that exact same exercise. Maybe it'd be fun to open it up to chat. So yeah, nature talisman is the first goal for sure. And I basically I'm going to like do a 24-hour stream, I think. And just if I get the nature talisman first and I'm like first on the server with the nature talisman, I'm planning on having 100,000 S on me and like just spammy advertisements like, guys, I need runners. Come make nature runes with me. The way it works is my inventory, which is 28 slots, is going to consist of Noted Essence, the Nature Talisman, and Nature Runes. So I'm going to have 25 slots available. So people are going to hand me 25 Essence. I think I'm going to say, look, bring me 25 Essence. I'll give you 20 Nature Runes, and I'll take 5. So that's kind of the plan, and I'll basically do that as long as possible.
Perfect, yeah.
Until other nature talismans get into the game. I imagine that day one, several will drop into the game because people are going to rush Waterfall Quest and farm the heck out of Fire Giants, which have a decent chance of dropping. Cool. So chat has spoken, and it looks like people want to know about clues. So Devin Coyle is asking, what clue type drops wizard boots this era? And Jay is asking, I want to know the best way to farm medium clues. So let's tackle those in order. If we wanted to find out which type of clue dropped wizard boots using Visual Studio, how would we go about finding that?
Right. So I think first off, are they called wizard boots? Is that's the real name for them? Wizard?
That's a great question. The first step to finding out how to get them is finding out what they're called.
Yeah, I think is that really? They're called wizard boots, huh? I'm not. Were they called something different back then? I'm tripping. Oh yeah, in 2005, the item was named from wizard's boots to wizard boots. So okay. So that should have been obvious. I should have figured that one out. But the first thing, if you want to search for a specific item, you go to the magnifying glass. And the thing to note is that the item's name that you see, wizard boots, that's not what the code calls it. So the first thing we have to determine is what is the code calling the wizard's boots.
Understandable.
And first thing you need to type in is name equals. And then if you type in wizards, WIZARD', or this should come up. Yep, you'll see that trails.obj.
Okay.
And so this is the config param for the wizard's boots. That top name you see there, that's what the code is going to refer to the wizard's boots as. It's just gonna be wizard_boots. So we could have guessed that. Yeah, we probably could have guessed that, but there's a lot of interesting information here, right? Like we can see their cost. That's going to be their alk value is a function of their cost.
Nice.
We can see their weight. We can even see, you see that it says recall 1S and then recall 1D. That's saying recolor 1. You're gonna excuse me. So the recall means recolor. The S means source and the D means destination. You can see that they're using the same model as the leather boots, but then they're just recoloring them to blue. So you can see how there's a brown and then a blue there.
I do.
The top one's brown. And so what the code's doing is they send over a brown model. This parameter says, replace all the brown with blue. And that's how you get
the wizard's boots. The wizard's boots are literally just boots recolored blue.
Yeah. Yeah. Perfect.
That's awesome.
And you can see some other info here where position his feet. You can see it has a left click option of where. You can even see its magical attack and its magical defense. So if you're curious about anything else, you can see the Robin Hood hat immediately beneath this also. And if I had to guess, above this might be the Ranger boots.
Hey, you guessed it.
Perfect. And you can see the same thing. It's the same model. They're just recoloring it green.
That's epic. I want to point something out here, though. This is why it's valuable to do the name equals before just guessing, because here we see the name is Ranger Boots, but the code is calling it trail underscore Ranger underscore boots. So if you were looking for these in the code and you were looking for Ranger underscore boots, you'd not find them very well. I mean, you might find them because Ranger Boots is in the name, but still, good example of how it's not always intuitive.
Yep. Perfect. And so, yeah, I think anything else jumping out at you? Is anything interesting here? I'm not seeing anything, but
no, I think we're good to move on to find how do we determine which clue scroll drops these.
Yeah, so honestly, I would just take that name that you copied and paste it into the search, and then this will give you all references to Wizard Boots. And there's not many; it's only a few. Perfect.
Easy.
So
we see trail clue medium.
Yeah, so that top file is going to be nothing. Those .pack files are essentially, you can click into it just to see.
Okay, let's do that.
Or yeah, you click on the. It's just a list of names. You can ignore that. The only thing we're worried about here is the trail clue medium, and this is going to give us the entire reward space for trail clue medium.
Very nice. Okay. So, I mean, this is a fairly short file, but in here, I guess we can look and understand the entire loot table for medium trails.
Yeah, and it looks like it might be a little windy. And so, you see how it says proc and then trail, clue, medium, normal?
Yes.
And so a proc is some.
I don't.
Yeah, it's the second label. Yeah, so anytime, and I know I explained this to you, anytime you see these square brackets in the code, you are kind of ending one block of code and starting the next. And so anything.
These are called labels.
Labels. Yep. So if you run the code up top, it's going to stop. Like it's not going to run anything past the next label. As in, these are all kind of individual things. Like you can think of every label and everything underneath it as a unit, like completely separate from everything else in the file. Does that make sense?
Yeah, and I think to try and help the viewers understand what we're saying here, if you see multiple labels inside of a file, each of those labels could have been their own files. This is just different coders. Coding can be a bit of a creative activity. So if two coders approached creating this exact document differently, one coder may have chose to take this top label and put it in its own file. Whereas this coder, just for his own way that he organized it in his brain, he thought it would be easier to have, he or she, good point. He or she thought it would be easier to have both of these buckets of code put in the same file, and the coder separated these buckets by using labels. So these could have been two separate things, but they've been compiled together. It doesn't affect the code at all. It's just purely a function of organization of how the coder wants to have their data organized when they go back to view it themselves.
Yeah, perfect explanation. So when you're seeing one label after another, they're not related in any way whatsoever, except the coder chose to put them next to each other.
So when we come into this file here, we see these two separate labels. How do we go about understanding which label or which bucket of code? The question I'm trying to ask, how do we understand? How do we look at these labels and understand what they're doing?
Yeah, so without knowing what the other code's doing, we're going to have to make some assumptions, but there's some safe assumptions to make here. So we see up top, we see procedure, proc means procedure, trail, clue, medium, reward. We can safely assume that when you open a treasure trail, a medium treasure trail, this is going to be the code that gives you a reward. And so surely that's the case, right? Like we don't need to, we could go confirm that somewhere else, but that's a safe assumption just looking at this, right?
Got it. It's just intuitive.
You agree with that? Yeah, exactly. You can see by the name and you can kind of tell by the way the code's laid out. So the first thing that's going to
no debate here. I'm going with it.
No. I'm being completely genuine.
Okay, good.
So the
I was waiting for the catch.
I did set that up. Yeah. And with with the way Jagex code is, There's always a catch, but no, here I'm being straightforward.
Okay.
So what we're going to open a medium clue. Somewhere else in the code is going to be responsible for, clicking the medium clue, and it's going to call this code to give you a reward. This is the code that's going to determine what your reward is. And it's going to start at where it says procedure trail clue medium reward. That's going to be so far we've run 0 logic. The first logic we're going to do is we're going to define an integer. It looks like it's going to be between, let me think. I think that's going to be between 4 and 6. So 4, 5, or 6. That random code is going to generate a random number.
And
if you're familiar with, if you're familiar with other languages, you're going to be like, this makes no sense. But the random, trust me on this. The random function is going to generate a 1, a 2, or a 3. Cannot generate a 0. In every other language, it would probably generate a 0, a 1, or a 2. But RuneScript, it generates a 1, a 2, and a 3.
So the random function that we're looking at here, which is random3, is going to generate an integer between 1, 2, and 3.
Correct. Yep. And then we end up with rolls is going to be a 4, a 5, a 6. That makes sense?
This is where I'm getting lost. Where do we find the 4, 5, or 6? Because it's 3 plus.
Yeah,
plus
I'm
3.
sorry. Yeah, so
it's an equation.
Okay.
It's simple arithmetic. We've got a static 3 here. This is the number 3. It gets added to a random integer between 1 and 3. So it's either give me 1, 2, or 3 plus 3. This is very simple.
Perfect. Yeah. And so up front, I haven't read the rest of the code. I assume, and just knowing how clues work, this is going to tell us how many items we are getting up front. And so right away we're determining, are we getting 4 items, 5 items, or 6 items?
Oh, dude, that's so cool. That's awesome. Okay, nice.
Yeah, perfect. So the next thing, you see that we define a 0, and then immediately we jump into like a while.
Okay.
The goal of the while is we want to run the next code. Like say we roll a 5 for rolls. We want this, whatever's inside the while loop, we want it to run 5 times. And so, this is getting into some programming stuff. We start roll at 0. We're going to add 1 every time, and then we're going to check if it's less than rolls, and that will run 5 times for us.
So keeping it simple and not diving into the details.
Yeah, this is getting
right
into
here tells the
CS 101
to roll the correct number of items on the.
Yeah, whatever's inside those brackets is going to roll 4 to 5 times.
Cool. Okay.
We know that to be the case. And then next thing we're going to do. Wait, no. Keep scrolling up. There's a real critical part there.
Okay.
We see if random 95 equals 0.
This is determining our loot.
Yep. Then we're going to run the code trail clue medium rare. So how I would interpret this is that we're going to roll a number. Wait, hold on. I might have lied to you earlier. Wait, or this code isn't okay. Backtrack on this. I'm completely sorry.
No. I mean, listen. This is complicated stuff. It's okay.
No, I completely mixed up. We have a random function and we have a random inc function. The random inc function is how I would describe to you the random function works. The random function is going to roll a 0, 1, or a 2. I completely lied to you. So we're going to get 3, 4, or 5 rolls, not 4, 5, or 6. Does that make sense?
Yeah, so, absolutely. That's a very quick.
Yeah, I'm completely. Yeah, my blunder.
So this random function can roll a 0, 1, 2, or a 3.
Yeah, and then we have an inc function that also rolls the 3. So I got my terms confused.
Yeah, I think that's pretty simple here. So just to make sure chat's caught up, this random 3 function is going to roll a 0, a 1, a 2, or a 3. If it was a different function that was random inc, that would have been excluding 0 as a possibility. Random inc 3 would have been a 1, 2, or a 3 without the possibility of 0.
Yeah.
Simple.
Yeah, there's an implicit extra one. Okay. So right up front, what we're going to do is we're going to roll a number 0 through 94. So we're going to run 95 possible values. One of them can be 0. And then if it is that 0 out of, essentially it's a 1 out of 95 chance, we're going to run the rare drop table code, and then 94 out of 95 at the time we're going to run the normal drop table code. Does that make sense? Reading that?
So if random 95 equals 0, we go to the...
Yeah, 1 out of 95 times, that's going to be true, and we're going to run the rare
got
code.
it. So there's two
The other
loots,
94 times.
there's two loot tables here, and it's telling you...
Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we're just deciding which one to roll from.
Got it. So,
And so
very, very, very rarely do we get to take a roll out of the rare loot table. It is is a 1 in 96 chance or a 1 in 95? I can't tell.
95.
1 in 95 chance we're going to roll off the rare table. Literally every other one of the 94 out of 95 times, we're rolling off the normal table.
And it's funny I made that mistake. Kieran and Ash on Twitter have made that mistake a million times. And honestly, that's probably what confused me. They've given rates assuming that random can't roll a 0 when it can. So even Mod Ash is making that mistake. So
just
to cut myself some credit, yeah.
You're good, man. And I'll just add one other thing. There's kind of a nugget in here that's fun to point out. This green text in here, guys, is made green because it's a comment. So to make comments in code like this, you do these 2 backslashes. And whenever you make these 2 backslashes, that tells the script to ignore all of that text. So this is how you can basically make notes for yourself in code to not only remind yourself of what you were doing or what you were coding, but if it's a group project, you can write notes in here to explain to your fellow teammates kind of what this code is doing or how you were thinking about it. So the fact that we're seeing this green text in here is just to note that this is a complicated enough script that the developer decided to add some notes in it so that other people could better interpret what is going on.
Yeah, and you see it's referencing a Jagex Tide tweet.
Yes.
You'll probably see, if you go through the code base a lot, we probably reference 100 Mod Ash tweets. Like you'll see these developer tweets are all over the code base. It's just a way for us to notate, source, why we think what we are writing is what we should be writing.
This is like literally an artifact that is a testament to the attention to detail that the team is putting into making sure that this 04 server is
no
accurate.
Decisions have been made lightly. I don't think there's one decision that we haven't, put thought into genuinely.
Amazing. All right, so we were just talking about that you have a 1 in 95 chance to roll the rare medium clue drop table and a 94 out of 95 chance to roll the normal drop table.
Yeah, so let's ignore the normal drop table. So this is a good example of why the developer chose to put all these labels in the same file. Because if we type go sub trail clue medium rare, that's going to tell us to run the code that is in the trail clue medium rare table, which is at the bottom of the page. So once we call that code 1 out of 95 of the time, we're going to jump down here and we're going to call this code. We're going to define a new random variable. It's going to be between 0 and 12. And you can very clearly see case 0, case 1, etc.
Yeah.
So
just to visualize this is like rolling 2 dice. First, you roll a 95-sided dice. If you roll a 1, then you come down, then you get the opportunity to roll a second dice, which is a 13-sided dice. And that's going to determine what your drop is.
Yep, and you can see that once you're on this table, everything has an even chance to drop. This is the medium table, interesting enough. I think we do have evidence that at some point the wizard boots were moved to the easy drop table. But right now it looks like it's coded for medium, which I think is the question. That's probably why the viewer asked that question, is because at some point in history, wizard boots did come from the easy drop table, but currently here we have them coded as medium. And I assume, I don't know enough about this. I assume the developer knew what they were doing when they coded this. So
fair enough. And if there are bugs in the code, we're still in beta, so now's the time to find them. Not saying this is a bug, by the way. Just saying that.
Yeah, I have no clue. No. I just remember discussion surrounding this fact. That must have been why the viewer is asking. Yeah, so they're on the medium table. It looks like if we do the math, we can have 3, 4, or 5 rolls. Each roll is 1/95/12. On average, we're gonna have 4 rolls. It looks like we have a 1 out of 285 chance, if I'm understanding it correctly, to get a wizard boots and a 1 out of 285 for a ranger boots.
That's a lot of math. I know how to do it. If I were to do it, I would use an Excel spreadsheet.
I typed it in. Yeah, I know.
I'm
I
not going to
typed
do
it
it
in
live on stream.
Yeah.
Hold on one second.
I had to Google it.
Yeah, fair enough. Let's see. Here, I'm trying to think of what to do next. I know that you have a bedtime, and so I don't want to keep you too much longer. So 2 things that I want to do are turn it over to you and then turn it over to chat. And if you need to hop, Bay, feel free.
I'm relaxing. No, I mean, I'll probably go in and sit at my desk for most of the day tomorrow. So you don't need a lot of sleep to do that usually.
All right, so we'll kind of head towards these 2 conversations, which are 1, I want to open it up to you to tell us anything you'd like us to know about the code or things that you find interesting. So kind of give you a little bit of a platform, and then we'll kind of open it up to chat for like a little bit of Q&A.
Yeah, I mean, do you want me to send you some? I'd love to send you some clips if that's fine.
Please.
Of behavior that we have matched. Yeah, give me one moment. So here's a funny little OSRS clip behavior. So we plant the flowers. You close the door, which deletes the flowers, and then when you pick up the flowers, the door gets deleted.
Okay, wait, we gotta watch this again because it's a pretty short clip, and I'm not sure I understood it. So we plant mithril seeds.
Yep.
We pick them. We close the. Did you close the door and then it disappeared?
When you pick up the mithril seed, you click on the dialog option to pick the mithril seed up. Normally that takes the mithril seed up from the ground, right? The pick flowers. But when I click it, it picks the door up from the ground.
What? It picked the door up instead of the seeds, like the door was an item?
Yep. Yeah, exactly. It thinks the door is the flowers that you planted earlier. The code gets confused.
Oh my gosh, that's so funny. So this is a great example of engine behavior that's the kind of things that you'd be working on.
Yeah, and give me one moment.
One person, Jay, has asked a question. We're going to get to them. I just want to say, for those of you that do have questions, start asking them now. So, we're going to look at this other clip, and we're going to also give Bay a little bit more, as much time as he wants to kind of share with us what's interesting to him and what we can learn from. But start asking questions now. I'll be able to keep track of them so that the Q&A can get going. And I don't know if there's going to be 1 or 10 questions. However many's perfect. All right, let me get this one open. For some reason, this one's playing. Oh, here we go. Okay, it's up.
Yep, so we see the equivalent situation in Lost City.
I'm going to need to watch it a few times just to understand what I'm looking at. It goes pretty
Yeah,
quick.
you're all good.
Okay, so we plant the mithril seeds. Here's the dialogue. The door's closed. So are the mithril seeds behind the door right now?
No, the door deleted the mithril seeds from the game. So you close the door, they go on top of the mithril seeds. You pick the mithril seeds up, boom, the door's gone.
Wow. So is this a fixed bug or one that's being worked on?
This is actually and so you see the behavior here matches what we see in OSRS, right? Like when you view the other clip, the same thing happens. You close the door on the seeds, you pick the seeds up, and the door goes missing.
That happens in the live game, is what you're saying?
Yeah, it does. That was the previous clip I had just sent you.
I totally did not understand that. I thought both
I
these
see.
were from Lost
Yeah.
City.
Oh, no. The first clip is the equivalent situation happening, but it's on OSRS.
So if I go and do this exact same behavior and OSRS today, I'm gonna make the door disappear?
Yep.
No way! Dude,
Yeah. Yeah, let's
spaghetti code, right?
go watch the previous clip back.
Okay, let's go do that. Let's go do that. Yeah, this is OSRS.
OSRS.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so they've never fixed this.
No, and in fact, this is like really core engine behavior to how they're just kind of treating these items like doors and flowers on the back end.
When it
And so
removes that door, does it remove it for all the players or just for...
everybody, yeah, no, everybody.
And the door's just gone?
It will respawn after a while, but yeah.
It respawns. Okay, that's so...
After about 5 minutes, yeah.
That's crazy. Instead of like, because I was wondering if people were having to manually replace it every time someone deletes the door. That'd be the very troll thing to do to the devs.
And so reason I'm showing this, like I didn't go in and like I didn't code this. Like this works in Lost City.
Yeah.
I didn't like code this to be the case. We code the engine well, and then these kind of like these funny like little edge cases pop out naturally. Like we didn't like we don't have to in the code say like if you put in a door on a flower, then delete the door. We never do anything close to that. You will not find like if you read the code, you would not be able to tell this is happening. It just has to do with fundamentally how we are storing locations on the back end. And the point I'm making is we match Jagex's implementation so well that these edge cases come about naturally, and that's pretty cool.
That was a great way of explaining that, and that is, I agree, really cool. And another opportunity to give kudos to you and the team. It's an awesome server.
Yeah, and here's I post a little photo. Here's another thing you can do in OSRS. Yeah, I don't have an equivalent clip in Lost City, but the same behavior will come about if you did the same thing. Oh yeah, you gotta download everything I send you, huh?
That's one way of doing it.
Yeah, so here there's actually 2 doors. There's only supposed to be 1. We managed to spawn a second door, and this I took this photo today as I was doing some test cases to make sure behavior matched.
Okay.
Lost City matches this. If we were to do the equivalent behavior, we would get this on Lost City, without any extra work. Like it's just kind of built into how our engine works.
Wow. So, and this is using Mithril Seeds to spawn a second door somehow?
This is slightly different. I think I used a box trap in this example. And obviously we don't have box traps in Lost City, but if we did, right, we would get the same behavior because we know how box traps work. And
I feel like we're getting a live sneak peek into like the kind of things that Port Khazard is doing when they're looking for bugs that they can.
yeah, of course. No, Port and I are very close. We speak almost daily.
Very cool, man. I'm just because you don't have chat up, we got one chatter here named Unray telling you to flex harder.
I mean, there's a bunch. I'm mostly gonna look at replicating behavior. So I sent you 2 more clips.
Okay.
And really here I'm trying to show off just how, trying to show off the engine. It's not supposed to be all black. I don't know if.
Yeah, that one didn't look like it download. Here, what we'll try with this is we'll just pull up our DMs and just play it in the Discord player.
If you can. All right, so pay close attention.
Hold on.
That was it. And so if we watch it, on the first tick, we move in and we get.
Before I play this, tell us what we're looking at so that we can watch it.
Exactly. Yeah. So my other account Bea5 is in combat with the guard, currently attacking the guard. When I go to attack the guard, it's not going to let me because the guard is being attacked already. If we go tick by tick, so on the first tick, I click the guard. I haven't clicked it yet. A little further forward. Keep going. So first tick, I click the guard. You see I get 2 someone else is fighting that on the same tick. It gives me the message twice. And then it waits a tick and it gives me someone else is fighting that on the tick after. That's curious, right? Like I get the message 3 times and I get it, twice 1 tick, and then I get, it happens over the course of 2 ticks. That's really weird, don't you think?
I never ever would have noticed this, and you're gonna have to
Of course
explain to
not.
me
Yeah,
why
of
it's
course
weird.
not. Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, you wouldn't expect to get 3 messages, and it's just kind of it's weird, you know.
If this happened to me in game, I wouldn't blink twice. I like
You probably wouldn't blink twice if you do it from a distance. You know, it's typical to only get 1 message. You know what I mean? Like 3 messages is a lot.
Okay, gotcha, understood.
But you know, and it's really specific. 2 on 1 tick, 1 on the next. Like that's in the very least, that's like specific. Like you wouldn't have been able to tell me that happens, right?
No,
Like maybe you wouldn't be able to notice it's weird, but probably nobody in the chat would be able to have told me that happens, right?
not at all.
Let's query the chat on this one. Nobody would have told, you know, if I had asked you what happened in that situation, you would not have told me 2 messages, 1 tick, 1 on the next tick. Certainly not.
We might have some 3-tick fishermen that could have figured it out, but not the average gamer.
Potentially, okay, yeah. So let's look at the next clip. It's the equivalent situation happening in Lost City.
Okay, let's get this max.
Under RuneScape, they're in combat with each other. We get the exact same behavior, right?
Ah, it's 1-to-1. 1-to-1.
It's 1-to-1.
OSRS to Lost City.
And again,
Dude,
we didn't code this in.
Okay.
We don't code in 3 messages here. We do not do that. The engine schedules scripts, and we code the engine well, and then this behavior pops out at us.
I finally understand this has come full circle. So what we've just done, we've looked at the most niche possible example of engine behavior, which is someone else is fighting that message coming up 2 ticks and then 1 tick. And then we've compared it to the Lost City server and confirmed that the engine behavior is literally 1-to-1.
Exactly. Yeah.
Inducted is asking why that happened.
Oh, okay. So it's actually an engine bug in OSRS. And I actually explained this to Mod Lenny a bunch of years ago why it happens, and he said, "Oh, that's really cool." But the first thing you have to realize is that there's 2 different kinds of interactions you can do. You can do a range interaction called an app, an approach. And so you can do an interaction from a guard from a distance if you're ranging it.
Okay.
A second type of interaction is an op, which you do when you're up close in melee range. We remember when we were looking at the labels earlier.
I do.
You can have both these interactions like kind of happening at the same time, and they're kind of competing to see which one's going to happen first. If you're up close, the op's going to happen. If you're way far away, the app's going to happen. But these are 2 different labels in RuneScript, and so if I attack a guard, it's actually going to be 2 whole different blocks of code, one that says app NPC guard and one that says op NPC guard. And then it's just kind of like, it's, you know, it's whichever one runs first. We don't really know. You know what I mean? If you're up close, the op's going to run. If you're from far away, the app is going to run. And these are 2 completely different code blocks.
Right.
Apps, they always start off, they can run from 10 tiles away. That's the max you can ever range something is 10 tiles. You know, if you're on OSRS, you have a T-bow. Say it's the T-bow is like, 9 tile range. You put it on long range, you don't get 11 tile range, you get 10. And this is an engine limit. You cannot run apps from further than 10 tiles away, ever.
Okay.
But some apps, they limit themselves to shorter than 10 tiles away, like 5 tiles, of course, like darts, right?
Yes, they're closer range, yes.
This is really tricky, so bear with me. For an app, like every app, when you first click a guard, the app range is 10 tiles. So say I have darts on and I click a guard. Obviously, I don't want to throw the dart at the guard until I'm within 5 tiles away. But it starts out, the script is going to run even if I'm 6 to 10 tiles away. And so we need a way to tell it to shorten it to 5 tiles. Well, it turns out the script actually has to run and shorten itself. And so we have that app NPC script that's going to happen when we throw darts.
Okay.
The script first happens when we're 10 tiles away. And then it's going to say, hey, actually, I know we ran the script, we interacted, but keep trying until we're 5 tiles away. Does that make sense? So
yeah,
we have exactly, yeah. So we have that label that you saw earlier. That code is going to run once when we're 10 tiles away, but it's going to say something like app range 5 in it, which is going to say, try again when we're within 5 tiles. What happens here is when I'm 2 tiles away from the NPC, the app runs, but it says keep trying until I'm within 0 tiles, which is kind of funky.
Is that
But
because
that's
it
how
needs to
like
be melee? Zero?
exactly. That's because I'm trying to melee. Right. And so that's what happens when you have a weapon on and you go to melee something. You run an app when you're 10 tiles away that says, actually, wait till I'm in melee range to attack. But that script's still running. You won't notice it unless you pay really close attention. But there's
Yeah.
still like a script running. You are interacting with the guard from 10 tiles away, even if you don't notice it. So what happens here is we run an app, which gives us someone else is fighting that. And then we move into melee range. And then when we're in melee range, we run an op, which gives us someone else is fighting. So that gives us 2 someone else is fighting that's on the same tick. And so that makes sense.
Yes.
But that third one's kind of funny. Like we already, we interacted. It already failed. Why does it do that third one and it's a tick late? That's an interesting question. And the reason is it's a global engine bug that exists everywhere on OSRS, where if you run an app and it tells you to get into and it calls, excuse me, I'm gonna restart that sentence.
Yeah, go ahead.
You call an app and the app says actually shorten the app range, and then that's essentially telling it to keep trying, right? We used that verbiage earlier. It's going to say keep trying until I'm within 0 tiles away. The code expects that you run an app again if you're going to run an interaction in the same tick. Like if you're 7 tiles away and you go to attack something with a dart, it's going to run the app label. It's going to run you 2 tiles into the guard's, 2 tiles closer to the guard. You're now within 5 tiles, and it's going to run the app again after you move until you throw the dart the same tick. There's a fundamental engine bug where if you run an app, it calls you app range, and then you run an op instead. That's what happens when we're up close. The interaction doesn't realize that it's completed, and it keeps trying to interact even though you successfully interacted. Until we get another tick of interaction where we get someone else who's fighting that a third time.
Wow.
And I know that probably didn't make sense to anyone.
I followed about half of it. But I did not need to understand it all to be impressed by it.
So the key is you run like a ranged attack, you move into melee distance in the same tick, you run a melee attack, the logic gets confused and then thinks you didn't attack at all, and then keeps trying to make you attack on the next tick.
Okay.
That's the shortened version. And we first noticed this with Ferox bankers. Let me see if I can find you clip real quick, because I think this will make a little bit of sense here.
Perfect. And by the way, chat, some people have asked questions. We are shortly going to move into Q&A.
I know. I've been rambling, but
well, I mean,
check.
Your rambling is the content that we're looking for, man. Like,
Good,
trust me, we're loving it.
Okay. So check this clip I just sent you.
Okay.
Yep. So I click the guard, or I click the banker, excuse me. And then I don't click it twice, but it opens the bank twice. And then the second time it doesn't do that. But I think it probably does that again later in the clip. See that?
It's opening the bank twice, basically. Like,
yep.
You close the bank and it opens on you again.
Exactly. And so this is the exact same engine bug that we just saw with the guard. And so I'm running an app on the guard. It moves me into melee range.
It's still an interaction, so it's still running that.
It's still an app and an op. Of course. Yeah. Perfect. Yep. And so this isn't this doesn't have to do with attacking or anything. I didn't even think about attacking when we were writing it. And it honestly, if you read through the code, is really intuitive why this bug should occur. And they just didn't catch it. Andrew Gower didn't catch it in 2002 when he built it. And 20 years later, we are rewriting it and kind of making sense of it.
So what you're saying is that Lost City 2004 has the archaeology skill already in it?
It seems like it. Yeah. Of course.
You are going through the ruins of Andrew Gower's initial collection and digging up artifacts as we speak. We got a 99 code archaeologist in the chat.
All this is to stress the point that Lost City feels good to click around in, and the reason is is because the engine is being replicated on just completely unprecedented levels.
Beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. All right. So first question is from Jay. He's asking, are updates planned to keep up with anniversary schedule?
Oh, I'm sorry. Is that the whole question? Are updates planned to keep up with?
It didn't make sense to me, but maybe it does to you. He says, are updates planned to keep up with the anniversary schedule?
Oh, I'm sorry. I think you cut out that. Yeah, the anniversary schedule.
I'll try again.
Does that are we just trying to be one-to-one? Is that the question? Like one-to-one with an update timeline as they were in 2004?
See, I'm also having trouble interpreting what his question means. He's probably
Yeah, I'll explain on a high level how updates I expect to work.
okay.
So we only have the RuneScape archaeology project. Like they look at all these old computers and they find like old cache versions and old client versions that are still hanging around on these old hard drives. These are kind of few and far between. We maybe have like 4 for 2004 and 4 for 2005.
Okay.
Whenever we do an update, we need to jump to one of these like cache revisions. And so, that's roughly every 3 months. And so the plan is, we're going to launch pay to play full launch, finished beta.
Okay.
We're going to pick our next cache revision, which is going to be sometime like July 04 maybe. And then we're going to code everything for July 04, which we have no clue how long that's going to take. Like we cannot set a timeline for this. This is not something that we've even started on or thought about. And then all that code is going to be released at once after a lot of testing. And so the way updates are going to work is they're going to kind of come in these like relatively large, like 3 months at a time waves. And we pretty much have no, like in an ideal world, we release the July 20th update on July 20th in an ideal world. I don't know if that'll be feasible or not. I have no clue. We're getting more devs interested in the project. Maybe we can rush some development along. We'll see.
Got it. So it's basically just if you can keep up with the timeline, you will, but you're not going to sacrifice quality over speed.
Never sacrifice quality. That's a good point.
I think that was a great answer to the question. As we go through these, I'll look to see if Jay has any follow-up questions for it. But for now, I'm going to move on. Devin Coyle wants to know, he's curious, how long do you think it would take to code a full fight caves in 05? Always wanted to play it, that era, but not like a new.
Yeah, I love that question. So one of my interests in the project, like obviously I love the vision. A big reason that I'm involved, obviously I'm showing you a bunch of like specific engine behavior that I've replicated. Engine behavior is like universal. Like it doesn't matter if I'm writing for 2004 or 2007 or 2025 OSRS. You saw that the engine's behaving fundamentally the same.
Correct.
And that's why I like to be there, is because what the code I'm writing is relevant to fight caves, relevant to Inferno, etc. I would love to see people build out fight caves, Barbarian Assault, Inferno, Colosseum. I would love if we built these updates on the 2004 engine. I think that'd be the coolest thing in the world. And so I've already put thought into that. Like that's one of my personal goals apart from the project, is I would love to see a fight caves release before we're even into 2005. And it won't be pushed to the live game. It'll just be like I want that code to be ready, and then once we do the 2005 updates, we'll have it ready. But people will be able to play it. If we write the code, people will be able to play it on external servers before it comes out. So
right.
How long do I think it would take to build? Not that long. I don't think. Right now, our biggest issue is with backporting maps. We don't have a good way to take a 2005 map and build it into the 2004 engine at the moment. And so that's a huge hurdle for doing any future content. Like that's not authentic to 2004.
Right.
Once we pass that hurdle, I think we'll be able to see a lot of custom content. I did build. It got a bunch of likes on Twitter. I built a little stub of. Have you played Barbarian Assault?
Barbarian Assault is probably my favorite RuneScape minigame, and I don't understand why anybody hates it. There's haters of Barbarian Assault, and they make no sense to me. I love that.
Yep. So I sent you a little clip, and I just wanted to make sure it works. This is the Barbarian Assault Defender role that I built just in like my little dev environment, and you can see like it doesn't look anything like Barbarian Assault, but you can kind of tell.
Yeah,
like
you can. Right. Yeah,
and
it's all the set piece.
Yep, and then these are the Penance Runners from Barbarian Assault. And if you know anything about those guys, they're pretty complicated. Like if you watched runners, you'd be kind of just confused by them. But because our engine is working so well, these are actually really easy to code because of how just authentic the engine is. And so this is Barbarian Assault Runners built into 2004. But you can see here, like I'm not using any of the map assets. The hardest part of this project would be to backdate the maps. Like this took me a day, but then if I were to backport the maps, like we just don't have tooling around that yet, unfortunately.
When you say maps, are you talking about like the mini map, or does that mean something else?
Like the all of it. Like you see, I built this game area from scratch using like current asset, like 2004 assets.
Okay.
Backdating assets and like backdating like the Fight Caves area is a pain in the ass at the moment. Yeah, like we're clearly not in the actual Barbarian Assault arena. If I wanted to, but other than that, everything's the same. Like we could port this code to the Barbarian Assault arena, but actually getting that Barbarian Assault arena into the 2004 Scape is a pain. Actually, I don't even know how to do it. There's a hurdle we have to. So yeah, I would love to see stuff like Fight Caves before it's time to release Fight Caves. That's actually a big goal of mine.
Alexis Lopez said, "Bro's doing a better job than the company who owns the game."
I mean, unironically, we have some, and I'm not even speaking about, I'm speaking about the other people and how impressed I am with them on the team. We have some brilliant people working on the project. Like we have some legitimate developers who would easily hold down a job at Jagex if they wished, but obviously there's hurdles with that, with nationality and stuff.
Mogan is here and just wanted to give you a shout out.
Oh yeah, my boy.
Yeah. All right. It's looking like a lot of chat. I'm not seeing any other questions yet. I'm not at the bottom yet. You can't see chat right now, but everything I'm scrolling through is just like really awesome feedback from chat. People celebrating, clapping, giving you kudos.
Yeah, I don't have it open. If you want to read anything out that you find notable.
Yeah, Jabba says, incredible insights into our undoubted favorite MMO title. Great job, team. There's a bunch of clapping emojis. Someone tuned in a little late and was like not sure what was going on. He's like, "Who are you talking to?" And I told him like, "Hey, I'm talking to Bea5. He's a contributor on the Lost City engine." And he's like, "That is so sick." So people are just happy to have you here. Okay, here's a question. So updates that are coming next and when, but you just kind of answered that. You told us how it works on buckets. So that was kind of that's already been addressed.
Yeah, no clue. Yeah. Is the answer. Who knows?
Triggered Cat was asking, is Lost City's code an improvement from the original? Which it's not, right? It's just a 1-to-1 copy.
It's definitely not trying to be. Like, I would say no. I mean, we have some modern technology stacks. Like, you had to realize Andrew was working in 2002. And so maybe in some sense, you could argue that, we're running on a faster server. We can Andrew wrote the engine alone. We might have some smarter people just with networking stuff. Maybe we can be more efficient. Like we might be able to squeak. We're probably squeaking out better speed by a lot. Things were a lot laggier in 2002. I'll tell you that. And so maybe in some sense, but no. The goal is to replicate behavior. That's the only goal.
Okay. Okay, Ken Crowley is asking, I remember seeing somewhere saying updates will be a fork and previous version will have their own servers. Is this true? If so, what do you think about player base splitting?
Yep, so that's a great question precisely because that's also a question that we are asking. I don't think we have a firm plan for that yet. I think the best idea that's kind of floated that people like is to end up having maybe like one or two servers for 2004, one or two servers for 2005, one or two for 2006, and then keep the rest of them up to speed. And so if we fork it, the goal with forking is mostly for preservation. Like we want to allow people to play that moment in time, but I think the main servers will always be up to date in the you know what I mean. But again, I don't think we don't know. We don't know yet.
Okay.
Personally, I'm more in favor of keeping the main player base all in the same spot, of course.
Yeah, and I'll just add my own commentary on this, just from having watched Pizzazz's interview with Vancouver and just having been around the community, is that there is what Pizzazz's vision is for this project and the team's vision, who are all following Pizzazz. There's that. And then there's the community and what they want in terms of a gameplay experience. And those two visions are Venn diagrams that intersect in some places and differ in others. So there's a lot of players here who they just want the best gameplay experience. But at the end of the day, that's not the goal of the 2004 Lost City project. 2004 Lost City is it is a preservation project. The goal of this project is to archive the game as it was in 2004, 5, 6, and 7. 7 we'll see. At least 4, 5, and 6. And some parts of that preservation project are gonna yield great gameplay elements. Some of them might yield the best gameplay elements. But by design, there will be things that could be improved about the gameplay experience that won't be improved, and that is the intention. So that's going to, as we move from beta into pay to play, going to be a continual kind of dissonance between, there's this segment of the community that wants a fun gameplay experience, which is not always going to be a one-to-one alignment with preserving the game as it was in 2004. So I just wanted to add my own comments on that question.
Because it's open source, like everyone working on the project obviously might not share a specific vision in mind either. So Pizzazz has his vision. I just have I'm not as even concerned with the server. Like I want an authentic engine, like just for the almost sport of it. You know what I mean? Like
yeah.
So I'm almost not as concerned with the game, but maybe you guys don't want to hear that. But I love the game. I love the game, but it's not my number one priority. Like I'd probably be doing this, and Pizzazz would be doing this if there were 0 players. And that's what got us to release, is the fact that people were willing to do this with 0 players. Like people developed this for years just for the fun of it before it got released. So
for sure.
And that should be a good thing to hear from a player base, right? Like it's almost like you can trust the integrity of it. Like there's not going to be sellouts. Like there's no exactly exactly, like we have our principles, and everything else is secondary. So I do see, I can see your stream, and I can slightly see that Inducted asked about backpathing.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you can definitely take over here. Go ahead.
So currently, how we have it in 2004, and it was like this at OSRS release until 2014. Path calculations are happened in the client, and so if you click somewhere in the map, your client, like your own machine, is running a pathing algorithm to get you to where you want to go, and then those paths are being sent to the server. They did this because pathing can be expensive. Like think about if you're going to solve a maze, right? As a kid, like finding the point from one side of the maze to the other, that you can't necessarily do that quickly. But if you click through a maze in OSRS, it's going to solve it for you, right?
Yes.
Yeah, and so that's not necessarily a fast thing. And so in 2002, when they had slow servers, they opted to put this calculation in the client instead of on the server. In 2014 OSRS, they moved it to server side because they could handle higher loads. It had been 12 years.
Yeah.
But how we have it and how they had an OSRS release is happening in the client. This is an issue because if you click toward like the end of a tick, your action might not be registered on the very next tick. You know what I mean? Like sometimes you click toward the end of the tick, a tick goes by, and then on the next tick, the server gets your action. If you click like toward the very end. If you do that with a path calc, you calc a path, a whole tick of updates happens, and then on the next tick, the server gets your path calc. Well, the path calc you just sent to the server is a whole tick outdated from where you might currently be. And because of that, the path calc might contain points that are behind you because the path calc might be outdated by then. And so you run backwards for a tick every once in a while if you're not being careful.
That makes 100% sense. And I would assume this improves with better latency.
Yeah. So the faster we can make the networks and the faster we can make one thing that's people call ping, but it's not technically, is how fast it takes for us to calculate a tick on the server. And so we receive all this information about players, but then we actually have to go update the tick, right? Like we have to calculate where, move every player on the back end. You do damage to an NPC, we have to make sure that the NPC's health goes down and all this. This has to happen like before we can send you out the new tick information. Okay. And so if these calculations take long, it just feels like ping to the player. Like it's pretty much to the end user, it just seems like ping, even though it's technically we call it our cycle latency.
Given that, is there anything that we can do to prevent some of the backtracking? Is there like ways that we can click to be more efficient?
Yeah, in general, and this is I think a kind of difficult thing to do. The best thing you can do is not click toward the end of the tick. And so you receive a tick update every 600 milliseconds. I think if you click right after you receive that update, you should pretty much never get backpathing. But you don't know when the tick's really happening. Like you don't have a true tile, you don't have a metronome.
Yeah, I was about to
it's
say.
It's not OSRS. Yeah, exactly.
If you had a tick metronome.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the best way. But unless you're, I wouldn't even know. Like unless you're doing something where you have a visual cue every tick. The second best way is not to click. Like it tends to happen maybe when you're running around like corners because, yeah, I think corners make it happen especially often because like you're calculating your path calc is doing a lot of work like right up front, and so you're sending like if you need a path around a corner, like you need to send that path to the server. If you're pathing a straight line and then you send another path to the straight line to the server, you're not going to backwalk because you're still just running the same straight line. But so it tends to happen when you're like zigzagging around.
Yeah, I noticed that too. I don't know if this actually helps, but I find that planting less flags on my mini map helps. If I let my character approach the point of my flag, the closer my character is to the point of the flag, the less likely I am to backtrack. The trade-off there is that sometimes you wait too long and your character reaches the flag and then stalls before you're able to plant the next flag. Yep. But somehow that has helped me.
Yeah, so I see someone ask about special attacks.
Yeah, they're Suzuki-san.
Yep. And I can't really make it out. I see Will special attacks be out.
I'll read you.
Can you? Yeah. Thank you.
So Suzuki-san asks, will special attacks be out a few weeks after launch? How will updates work? Like after Legends Quest, are we getting any more updates or not until 05 version? So some of that has already been answered, Suzuki-san. So I guess I'll go over. Want to give a really high level overview, a quicker answer, yeah.
Yeah, so we're gonna special attacks will not be on release, and they won't be incredibly soon. They will come with our next update, which will be about 3 months of 3 months of 2004 content, and then that will come however fast we code it. So it'll be, they're not going to be out on release. They will come with our very next patch. It's not going to be the 2005 patch. It'll be like July 2004 patch. And I'm looking forward to special attacks. I think they're going to be a lot of fun to get correct. You know what I mean?
Heck yes, man. Well, here we are. It looks like we're at the end of Q&A with the best conversation that we've had on stream to date. So, Bea, huge thanks, man, for being here.
Yep.
This is kind of a collaboration. The only other collab that we've done on stream was with another content creator named Garlic04. I'm going to just shout him out real quick. Search Garlic04 on YouTube. But I don't know what your sort of presence is on the internet, but if there's any sort of presence that you have that you want to shout out, be it a Twitter, a YouTube channel, any sort of website, any sort of presence that you want to make chat here aware of how to find you, follow you, or
I'm going to go ahead and shout out one of the other devs. I think if you want to follow the project, Tanner Dino on YouTube makes videos about the Tanner even makes videos about development on the project. And so yeah, I would don't follow me, go follow Tanner. And in general, I want to really stress this point that you're giving me a lot of airtime, and I love it. But I just want to make sure that we all are aware that how much harder a lot of the other devs have worked on the project than I have. Jordan, Pizzazz, Tanner, Indio, and the list goes on. And so just want to make sure I'm not the one taking huge credit for all of this. It's a lot of brilliant people working on it.
Listen, man, whatever work you put into the project or not, it's not up to us to quantify, measure, or even judge. At the end of the day, you have an intimate understanding of the game and the server and a willingness to come on and share with us. And so,
Yep.
not everyone who codes has the willingness to come on and be live and have a conversation like this. So I can say for myself, it's super appreciated. From the rest of the chat, I'm sure it's appreciated as well. Craig here is saying, humble, which, major respect. I think it's a great show of your character to show deference to the rest of the team. If any of the team does watch this, I feel like I have a responsibility to kind of do what you're doing here and say, thank you, all of you, to every single member of the Lost City team, from Pizzazz all the way down, for giving us this really amazing gaming experience. It's been a blast, and I'm so excited to be a part of it. Let's see. So I wanted to shout out Garlic there because I did a collab with him as well. We've shouted out Tanner Dino. Obviously, I got to shout out myself a little bit. This has been JoshBrownGames speaking with Bea5 about the Lost City server development and a little bit about how to look through the code and understand it from a layman's perspective. If you've not already, please throw a like on this stream, sub to my channel, and hit the bell for notifications. Because I only do live content, that bell makes a way bigger difference for this channel than any other channel. It's not like I record any videos that are just going to show up on your feed anyways through recommended lists on the algorithm. The only content I do is live, so hitting that bell will tell you every time I go on live. So if you want to see more of this kind of content, hang out with me a little bit more, hit that bell, subscribe to the channel, and thank you every single person that's here for being here.
Yep. Thank you, everyone.
Any other closing comments, Bea?
I think I've said my piece. You gave me plenty of time to say what I wanted to say about the project. I'm thankful to everyone involved, and I'm thankful for everyone who's watching and interested in it. I mean, I love talking about this stuff, obviously. So thanks for listening.
Yeah, well, let's not rule out the possibility of some sort of follow up when the time is right, or there's I'm sure there's other.
You should get Tanner on. I'm sure she'd love to come and speak about the project.
Yeah, I'll reach out to her for sure. And I mean, it's a bit of a pipe dream, but if Pizzazz ever wants to come on and do something similar to this, either, with him or with some of the other teams supporting him, I'm sure we'd all love to hear from Pizzazz. I know he's been on with Vank, and I heard he did another podcast with Pause. So his time's really valuable. I don't know if he's going to have the time to do it with every content creator. But of course, we'd all love to talk to Pizzazz. If you want to throw in a good word for us, that'd be awesome.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, Tanner Dino. I think I saw her on here. So Tanner, maybe we can line something up for in a couple of weeks. I personally, I'm out of town next week, Monday through Thursday. I'm gonna do my best to stream like from a hotel room on a laptop. I don't know how that's gonna go, but we're gonna try it. But yeah, maybe the next 2 weeks from now, I'll reach out to Tanner and see if we can get something scheduled. Well, right on, man. I can't tell you how
thanks,
great this
Josh.
been, dude. It's been real. I know you have a bed and a pillow to go hit, so 1,000
Yeah.
thank yous. This has been a lot of fun, man.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good one.
Cheers.